My goals, revision 1, update 5. All right, I'm making this video because I'm getting ready to make some big decisions. What is it I'm going to do, you ask? Oh boy, this is a biggie. All right, where do I begin? Let's go to the Valkyrie. I guess the big decision centers around Night Squire. For Night Squire, I am actually going to remove the Schrodinger Band stigmata set. I am also too going to remove the Tchaikovsky stigmata set. Now, as to the reason why I'm going to do this, if you notice, my crystals have dropped to 425. I made the sacrifice and I spent a bunch of crystals on this HI3rd banner or focus supply. I was fortunate enough, let me try to clear things up here. I was fortunate enough to get another piece of HI3rd, which so happened to be the piece that I had salvaged before. And I made enough pulls where I got enough stigmata resonance. Not say I got enough. I had like about 3K stigmata resonance already. Either 2 to 3K stigmata already. And in those pulls, I was fortunate enough to get enough stigmata pieces to where I could salvage it. And I was able to pick up Robert Perry from the exchange shop. That, in combination with the fragments, which I've been farming, I have 280 chasmic blue crystallite. I also too have 1,561 ether fuel. In order to upgrade to HI3rd, you need to have a piece of Robert Perry. You also too need to have 140 chasmic blue crystallite. You need to have 900 ether fuel, and you need to have 150 spatial convection. I currently only have 120 spatial convection. In my last video, I said I would try to figure out a strategy on how to get to HI3rd pretty quickly. So what I did was spend some crystals. I spent about 8K crystals. No, I spent about 9K crystals that I had saved up to help expedite the process. My plan was, actually after talking to some people in World Chat, my plan was to work towards saving up the crystallite to upgrade from generation 2 to generation 3 HI3rd. I wasn't going to waste time trying to build up from Noheim, then to Robert Perry, then to Anna Chirac, or to try to forge Robert Perry and then try to forge Anna Chirac. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to go build everything starting from what I would need. My goal was to start by getting the resources I would need to upgrade from generation 2 to just generation 3. And in the process of me getting those resources, I was going to save stigmata resonance over that period of time, because the time it would take for me to get everything I would need to actually be able to upgrade, it was going to take me multiple weeks. Like, when I say multiple weeks, what I mean is almost like a whole freaking year to get it. Because the stigmata resonance, if I didn't make any supply drops, I would only be getting 240 stigmata resonance a week coming from open world. It's right down there in the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll try to magnify it. See, you only get 240 a week. So that means in about 1 month, you will get 1,000 stigmata resonance. Then, of course, in about 1 year, you would get 12,000 stigmata resonance. In about a year, it will take you more than a year. It will take you more like a year and 2 weeks, which would allow me to get 2 pieces of Robert Perry from the exchange shop. So the goal was to try to keep it within 1 year, was to try to find a way how to get another piece of Anna Chirac. So that's the reason why I spent the crystals. When I got more stigmata resonance, that's when I picked up Robert Perry. And in the realization that it's possible for me to get to the 3rd piece of Anna Chirac within a reasonable time, that's what's leading me to salvage Schrodinger Band drummer. Because now that I got a piece of Anna Chirac, I no longer need 450 spatial convection. I now only need 300 spatial convection, and I already had 120 just from, saving up. Which means I only need an extra 180 spatial convection. So to get that extra 180, I've purchased the Battle Pass season. I didn't do this for the spatial convection. I mainly did this because they were offering the outfit for Hacksaw Bunny. I tried to, purchase these Battle Passes when they offer something that I get to keep long term. I don't always do that, but that's what I try to do. So in the process of that, what I will get is another 50 spatial convection. That will give me enough to get another piece of Anna Chirac. Once I get to level 38, which should happen in I'm at level 22, today is a Tuesday. It should happen in about another week or 2. So now I have 2 pieces of Anna Chirac within about 2 weeks from now. So now comes the 3rd piece of Anna Chirac. Also 2 in the Battle Pass and the Night BP, you will get 520. You'll get 520 stigmata resonance. Let's see, there's no easy way to see that there. I keep pulling out my stylus pen. It makes a lot of noise since it's right next to the microphone. you get 520 stigmata resonance. So, considering that I already have 400 stigmata resonance, by the time I get to this, I have about 1,000. And in 2 weeks, I have about 1,300 to 1,500 stigmata resonance. So when I salvage Schrodinger Band, that'll give me an extra 3,000 stigmata resonance, which will now just instantly give me a boost to 4,500 stigmata resonance, which means I only need 1,500 more stigmata resonance in order to get anisoriac. Because I will have to wait on obtaining more spatial convection after I upgrade the second piece of the piece of Robert Perry to anisoriac. In the time that I'm waiting to get more spatial convection, I will be accumulating more stigmata resonance. So basically in about another month and a half in about like another 2 months, I'll have 3 pieces of anisoriac. Because then I'm like, once I get the 50 spatial convection from the battle pass, I'll be able to upgrade to the piece of Robert Perry that I do have now to anisoriac. And then in about another 2 months and about another month and a half after that, I'll have enough spatial convection as well as stigmata resonance. I'll say I have enough stigmata resonance to where I can get another piece of Robert Perry from the exchange shop, as well as have some more stigmata resonance in order to get another 50 spatial convection, combined with my efforts of what I'm saving for spatial convection coming from the Elysian Realm shop. I'll be able to have another 150 spatial convection, pretty quickly. Here's the Elysian Realm shop. So all I got to do is keep buying this weekly and keep saving and keep, make sure I do all my, adventure tasks. So this way I always get the 240 a week. And then I'll have 3 pieces of anisoriac within, at least from the time that I made the video about my update, which I don't really remember. I'm gonna have to drop down my status bar here real quick to do that. And then I need to Alt-Tab, come here. When did I make that video? That's too far. Should be here. There it is. I uploaded that August 15th. Wow, really? That was over a month ago? Wow. Time flies. So, when I updated my goals over a month ago, basically within about 4 months from me uploading that video, I will have 3-piece anisoriac. Now, I guess I didn't acknowledge or say I'll be doing discussion. I just kind of went into it because I'm thinking and I'm explaining as I'm thinking. So I don't have time to make connotations verbally. So the logic is this. I've been making an effort to clean up like my stigmata pieces. Because in my vision, in my perspective, I was having so many stigmata pieces, I was getting hard to focus on why do I have this? Where is what in all this list? So I said, you know what, I'm going to clean this up. And the reason why I'm doing this, not only to clean things up, but I started having to ask questions like, what is it that I'm actually using to play with? And what I'm not using to play with, should I get rid of it? And when it comes, going back to Night Squire, when it comes to Night Squire, before I had HI3rd of Sentience, Night Squire was my go-to physical damage dealer. It was actually Night Squire and Umbral Rose. They were my go-to physical damage dealers. Also, I guess around that time, I was using Valkyrie Ranger or Void Drifter. But once I got HI3rd of Sentience, she is so powerful that wherever I was using the Night Squire in order to make sure I could get a high score, I now use HI3rd of Sentience. Also, too, I decided to become Fuha-centric in my efforts. So I found a way to replace Umbral Rose using Valkyrie HI3rd without an augment card. Also, too, in the game, they've pretty much reduced the need to have an AoE physical DPS. Like there was a time when I was doing Durax C as well as Q Singularis, and a lot of the floors in those game modes, there were times when you needed to have AoE physical DPS. But now, with the way that they've done things, it's like I don't need it anymore, because there's nothing that says they only take increased physical damage. Even on floors where, let's say, the enemy will take increased physical damage and less lightning or whatever, or they take more of a certain element, I now have enough Valkyries, or I say enough, but I now have a diversity of roster that does elemental damage, that even if, let's say, I find mech enemies that take more physical damage but less lightning damage, I have a fire Valkyrie that still can output enough damage to still allow me to clear the floor. And it's the same thing. If there's something that takes more fire or more ice, I have a Valkyrie that does lightning damage that can still clear the floor. And I'm currently working on building a ice Valkyrie that will be able to do ice damage that can still clear the floor. So because I no longer need Valkyrie Ranger and I no longer need Umbral Rose, and HI3rd of Sentience has replaced Night Squire, I had to examine if I still needed Schrodinger Band on Night Squire. And I was being very fortunate that in this rotation, of Memorial Arena, it's all physical DPS. So what I did was I came to training and I tried to see if I could beat an SS version of this boss using Skull and Hati and the Ryunosuke Akutagawa Stigmata set, which is only a 4-star Stigmata set. Granted, I got some superb rolls, affix rolls. Superb. So, getting superb rolls on that 4-star Ryunosuke Asutagawa Stigmata set, along with Skull and Hati, as well as, in addition to Night Moonbeam being triple S, which gives me the maximum benefit from her leader skill, 40% crit damage, and 26 total damage multiplier, along with the Stigmata set that where she exits, teammates gain 5% physical damage. Also, too, combined with the fact that now, even though it's not equipped on her, I have a Stigmata. I have Stigmata pieces that boost team. That have the capacity to boost team damage. That combined also too with Starlit Astrologist, who's able to increase crit rate with her skills. As well as increase how much damage enemies take with her ultimate, as well as do damage herself. And be able to do that without being swapped in. Those things combined still allow me to be able to defeat an SS version of the bosses that I was using Night Squire for. So I tried this on Jizo Matama, and I tried this on Tonatula, and I was able to defeat it. Granted, my score isn't as high, but I don't really care about that. I just want to be able to clear it in a reasonable amount of time. Also, too, what I had to do was the reason, like I was using Umbral Rolls on Shadow Knight. But this is where I'm using Valkyrie's Scepter without her augment core. So I had to do a test to see if it was possible for me to clear it using Elizabeth Bathory and just the grips of Tai Xuan. And I was able to clear it. So being able to clear these physical bosses on SS difficulty was the key thing. The only boss that I could see myself testing would be Colin. Colin's probably the most troublesome for the Valkyries I have. But I guess without being able to test on Colin, I'm going to have to take the risk in salvaging the stigmata and try to find another way. Should Colin prove to be a real difficulty on Night Squire using Skull and Hottie, I do have it in mind, or have the capacity to simply use the Oblivion Down pre-arm on Night Squire, which does surprisingly well. Even though the enemy may not take elemental damage, the 35% bonus total damage and restores 30% faster from attacks, as the restores SP 30% faster from attacks, makes a huge, huge difference. It's even more powerful than Skull and Hottie. So all these factors combined leads me to realize that I no longer need Schrodinger Band. And the reason why I'm getting rid of Tchaikovsky is because I've recently acquired, well, there's multiple reasons. So let me start with the first reason. If I go to my preset teams, what I've come to learn that in my team that does the most physical damage, I was using just HI3rd Sentience along with Valkyrie Triumph. But in the recent, Super String Dimensions that had a Bloodlust with the Hami Magician, when I was trying to figure out how I could get a higher score, I realized that using Night Moonbeam in place of Valkyrie Triumph and putting Night Moonbeam in elite position yielded a higher damage output. Because of the 40% crit damage, as well as the 26 total damage multiplier, it's like having a 26 total damage multiplier active all the time is better than just swapping in Valkyrie Triumph to get a 50% physical damage buff for 8 seconds. And if HI3rd Sentience should, she still has a decent crit rate, so if she should manage to crit while having those buffs, it's like you're just going to do good gobs of damage. And Valkyrie Triumph was the only Valkyrie where it made sense to use the 4-star Stigmata set Tchaikovsky, because you literally, the way you play with Valkyrie Triumph is that you literally come in and you cast her ultimate and then you get her out. Increases physical damage against enemies within enchant. So you basically cast her ultimate and then you swap with the next person, which made the buff, I believe it's the 3-piece Stigmata set buff from Tchaikovsky, makes sense. Or it's the 2-piece. So now that I'm not using Valkyrie Triumph, I tried to see if there's a way where I could still use the Stigmata set. And unfortunately, the Stigmata set doesn't provide any type of attack buffs. It's all reduces damage. Or it's like it's stuff to help you survive, nothing to help you do damage. Reduce physical damage to attack, paralyze that enemy. Kind of skills gives indirect physical damage reduction buff, max X reduction. Switching heals self for 20% max HP. Even the 3-piece, after casting a roll, the next team is switching in, takes 30% less indirect damage for 2 seconds, restores HP, 10% of the host's max HP. It's all survival. I can't use it to do any damage. So in an effort to thin the herd of my stigmata sets, which is also too combined by, again, looking at my Valkyries and say, okay, which Valkyries do I actually play with? And what stigmata pieces can I reuse? I decided to take these 3 stigmata pieces and actually just put it on a Valkyrie that I play with. Because for a while, I've just been keeping it on Valkyries who just provide buffs. I haven't actually been playing with this stigmata set unless I, choose to equip it over some other pieces someone else may already have. Or I decide to play with someone who does buffing. So instead of doing that, I decided to play with it. And when I was looking at all the other support equipment that I had, Tchaikovsky was sitting on Valkyrie Blade Strike for a while. And I said, well, I still want to play with Valkyrie Blade Strike. Whenever I'm in a co-op and I have the ability to cast her, unique team skill, it's just so powerful that I wanted to, I don't want to get rid of that. But at the same time, I want to put a stigmata set on her that will still allow her to do damage. And so that's when I decided to just play with the stigmata set that I was using for buffs. And just put it on her, which turns out to be great because now not only does she has the capacity to give people a boost of SP, she's also able to provide a buff to the whole team as far as how much damage they can output. So it's like I give you, with Valkyrie Blade Strike and this equipment, I'm able to give the team a whole bunch of SP as well as make whoever they're attacking take more damage. So it's like you get to burst and your burst is now even more powerful. Like you get to burst sooner and more often and your burst is more powerful. It's like perfect for Valkyrie Blade Strike. It's perfect. In a co-op setting, it's perfect. The only person I can see being better than her is Celestial Hymn. And I guess on that co-op raid note, or co-op note, I don't play with Celestial Hymn. Well, I guess I can't really go to the co-op note just yet. But I guess I can. So this is going to be a little bit of a split in logic following. But on the co-op note, on the side note about the co-op, I try to play with characters that most people don't play with. So this way I don't have to worry about swapping them out. And so a lot of people play with Celestial Hymn, so I don't want to play with her because I'll be in a situation to where I just want to use the character I like to use to make it easy and simple, and then I have to find myself, okay, I got to swap her out. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I try to pick characters that most people don't really choose to play with, that are not popular. So getting back on topic, and the last reason why, after realizing that I did more damage the other way, and the other team, there was another team that I had for Memorial Arena for just HI3rd of Sentience without using anyone else that I might want to use in another team. And this is where I was also using Valkyrie Triumph, was my biophysical team too. But I recently acquired Celestial Hymn, and I'm using Celestial Hymn in place of Valkyrie Triumph because she's better. Her passive is a team gains 30% crit damage against impaired enemies. Since HI3rd of Sentience is all about impairing, she's going to gain an additional increased 30% crit damage. Also, too, with her sentience, in order to get her to do max damage, you have to swap her out. So in the process of just naturally swapping her out, another passive, when cross is deployed, team gains 25% physical damage for 7.5 seconds. Celestial Hymn works perfectly with Hearse of Sentience. So it's like I swap Hearse of Sentience out, I bring in Night Moonbeam, or I bring in some other character, which I could use Valkyrie Blade Strike for. I bring in some other character who can, you know, trigger a time fracture. Once that time fracture gets triggered, I just bring in Celestial Hymn, throw the cross down, and then just immediately go to her of Sentience and to go do her, you know, burst. She's going to have 30% increased crit damage as well as an additional 25% physical damage for when she does her initial attack going into Herschel form. And then she might have a little bit more seconds for when she starts doing her combo attack the first time. So it's like in most cases I have to do Herschel Sentience's, you know, ultimate like at least 2 times in order to clear. So that 26% increased physical damage when the cross is deployed, combined with a static 30% critical damage increase to impaired enemies, I will be making up for Valkyrie Triumph by using Celestial Hymn. Also, too, if I get Celestial Hymn to S1, each hit of the Blade Barrier additionally deals physical damage equal to 50% of the base attack of the Valkyrie protected by the Blade Barrier. So not only when I get her to S1 and I swap her out, not only will I be getting already having the 30% increased crit damage to impaired enemies, as well as 26% increased physical damage when the cross is deployed, I'll also to be putting a blade barrier around, I guess, her sentient that will be doing 40% of her attack every. What's the interval on that? Each hit of the blade barrier additionally deals physical damage. So there is no interval really. Every hit of the blade barrier, that'll be doing 40% of her attack. So I'll just be doing just good gobs of damage with just Celestial Hymn, much more than what I'll be getting with Valkyrie Triumph. So because Valkyrie Triumph has been phased out on my overpowered physical DPS team, as well as my individual biophysical team with Hearse of Sentience, I've decided to go ahead and salvage Tchaikovsky. Along with the fact that I'm using the buff Stigmata pieces as a playable set on Valkyrie Blade Strike. So that's my train of thought. Now going back to my Valkyrie list, I already salvaged a lot of other Stigmata pieces, if you haven't noticed. I recently had to go back and reforge the Ryunosuke Atugawa set, as well as the Elizabeth's Bathory set. I actually did that like last night or early this morning, because I had went through and salvaged all those other 4-star Stigmata pieces I was using to do damage. The reason why I did that is because for Flame Sakatama, you know, I wanted to be able to just be able to play with my heroes and just bring them in, which I did try for a while. And after some time, I just realized that I stopped doing that. I just wasn't bringing them in. There weren't enough, like, it's like I had my fun. There was a time when I got them and I got everything in place, so let me just use them. It was great. But then as time progressed, I just stopped doing that. I guess I lost interest to do that, to just bring them in and play with them. And then the times when I would just bring them in and play, because they weren't, I guess also too, because the equipment that they have wasn't the best it can be. In other words, since I didn't put really good equipment on them, and even if they had the capacity for good equipment, such as having a pre-arm, I didn't upgrade it. It was like their damage output was just subpar. It wasn't interesting. It was like, yeah, they're in, I'm playing with, oh, they didn't really do anything. Oh, well. And so then I just switched to, well, you know, I've already made or am making the sacrifice to invest in all these other pieces of equipment. Because before, all I had was really the only 3-star, only like 3rd generation stigmata pieces I had were for physical DPS, was for Hershey of Sentience. I didn't have any other generation 3. It then came along, I got Ishikawa Gomen. I went ahead and did the upgrade to that. Then I just got the access to Low and Woke. Again, by getting Thales and then upgrading that to, I think I pulled Thales from the exchange shop, but by getting Thales, upgrading that, and then purchasing Low and Woke from the Battle Pass using the Crystallum, I got a Generation 3 Fire, and now I'm working on a Generation 3 Ice. So basically, I have a Generation 3 for physical, fire, ice, and lightning. And now that I have those stigmata pieces, even if I bring in the other characters, I'm going to be putting them in this Generation 3 equipment that I've been making a lot of sacrifices and a lot of time and effort in acquiring. So what I did was I went through all the Valkyries, and for Flame Sakatama, she was in Wang Zhaojin. I salvaged that. For Darkbolt Jonin, she was in Edison. I salvaged that. I kept all the stigmata that I was using for support, because I use those like every week. Every week I'm using it in some capacity. So all the support stigmata pieces that were 4-star, I kept. Recently forged this last night or this morning. Recently forged this last night or this morning. She was in Scott. I salvaged that. Currently working on getting HI3rd for her, and that can also too be used by her. I guess on a side note, I went through 2 weapons for Kriegsmesser. I acquired her Blood Dance, and I ended up salvaging that after some time because I just simply wasn't using it. And once I decided to no longer use Valkyrie Triumph, I had a Cleaver Smash that was just sitting around. I wanted to use it on a character, so I decided to use it on Kriegsmesser. On a side note, even though I have other characters that can use it, the issue is that I don't have equipment that I would want to keep on them. I'm having an audio problem. Audio problem fixed. So, since I already have a Kriegsmesser that in equipment that I want to keep her in, I decided to just put the cleaver smash back on her. So not only did I go through her blood dance, the blood dance weapon, which is a key weapon for any Himiko Murata character. Where is it? Two-handed. I also too went through her run gear. Her run gear did surprisingly well. But it's like now that I've gotten Sarcasm Nyx online with her pre-arm, I was just doing the Elysian Realm. So I put it on Argenite. But now that I got her pre-arm, it's like I just won't be using anyone else for ice damage. Also, too, I guess I will for fun, but I also too got Gusenso Memento online with her pre-arm. And so I just won't be playing with Kriegsmesser because for fun. So I decided to put the Cleaver of Smash on her and just use her in a raid since I already had equipment built on her. And this helped me to do, my pruning efforts of equipment. And speaking of that, fun fact, side note, this is a fun fact. When I was pulling for Anna Shoryak, I did get the Key of Reason. But I salvaged it because I now have Sarcasm Nyx with a pre-arm, who can output as much damage as the Hersher of Reason. And so when they both have their pre-arms and are in the same equipment, they can output similar amounts of damage. And I would venture to say that Sarcasm Nyx might just put out more damage than Hersher of Reason. The only way that I can see... Oh, I gotta do preview. Yeah, she can output more damage, as much damage or more, mainly because Sarcasm Nyx, her ultimate only costs 75 SP. Whereas Hersher Reasons cost 125 SP. So I'll be able to get to Sarcasm Nyx's ultimate faster and more frequently in a fight than I would be able to for Hersher Reason. Also, too, what I'm looking to see is that with Sarcasm Nyx, every time I cast her ultimate, I reset her weapon skill. So I'm looking to see if there's anything like that for Hersher Reason. Yeah, this doesn't. I can reset Sarcasm Nix's weapon skill. Herschel Reason, you can't. And with this weapon skill, she does uses chain claws to grapple the target towards the wielder or send the wielder to the target. Perform scythe slashes dealing 100% plus 900% attack of ice damage. She's doing 1,000% of attack of ice damage. And she could do that crap twice. Not even twice. More. It's like, so she does 1,000% when she's not in, burst mode. So I do that. You could do that once before you cast your ultimate. You cast your ultimate where it says right here, entering and exiting burst mode both reset the weapon's active cooldown. So before I go into ultimate, I cast a weapon skill. I cast the ultimate, the weapon skill gets reset. And I get to cast it again to do, what is it? Start because the equip bonus, blah, 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 blah. In her burst mode, the weapon active is changed to slam the area in front of her and drag enemies nearby to her, dealing 900% plus 4 times 40% attack of ice damage. So she's doing 1,600% attack of ice damage when in her burst form. Entering exit burst mode both reset the weapon skill. So I get to go in before I go to ultimate, cast the weapon skill. It's on cooldown. Go into ultimate, the weapon skill gets reset. Cast the weapon skill again to do just another burst of damage. And then right before I exit burst mode, if I'm able to, I won't say right before, but before I exit burst mode, I could do her weapon skill in burst mode, and then her weapon skill is reset again. And then I could do use her weapon skill again. And then I could just keep doing that over and over and over. It's like, and I could do it quickly. So it's like the amount of damage that I could just dish out is so much more, let's say, frequent. It's just ridiculous. So that's the reason why I salvaged the Key of Reason. I currently don't have any plans to build a Herrscher of Reason. I'm not really making it a point to try to get her stamps or whatever from the Elysian shop. As you can see, I haven't purchased any of those things. And I currently don't have any intention to purchase any. So getting back on topic about the equipment and everything, this is the reason why I salvaged a lot of the Stigmata sets. And I salvaged the weapons to streamline everything. So at this point in time, every weapon I have is equipped, except for these gloves. The only reason why these gloves are not equipped is because I do not have another Fuha character. The only way that I could get all these weapons equipped is if I was to actually try to acquire Azura Imperia. And I currently don't have any plans or interest to do that, especially now that the Herrscher Sentience Awakened character exists. So unless Azura Imperia, I'm able to acquire her fragments in some kind of, free-to-play way, I won't be able to use those gauntlets I won't be able to have every piece of equipment I have, every piece of weapon equipped. But the stigmatas are not the case, or not. That's not the case, because for all these stigmatas, they will all be equipped. Nothing will be idle. So that's where I'm at. This video took a long time because I like to explain. I've had this stigmata set for a very long time, and it served me well. But if I want to move forward in any reasonable amount of time, I have to make a sacrifice. If I don't want to wait a whole freaking year in order to get HI3rd put together, or now wait like 6, 8, 9 months, I have to make a sacrifice. And making this sacrifice puts me closer to my goal of completing my Revision 1 goals, of having all my Valkyries equipped where I want them to be. All the Valkyries that I have that are my primary damage dealers will have pre-arms, as well as mainly Generation 3 stigmatas. All the Valkyries that are acting as support will have equipment that they can wear. That's ready to be brought in without having to swap any equipment. All the Valkyries that I play with, that I need in order to do Memorial Arena, will have equipment that will allow them to be able to defeat SS versions of the boss that I target those Valkyries for. And any other Valkyrie that I want to play with, I will simply just swap weapons. Swap equipment. And play with them when I'm interested to play with them. And once I get everyone in their equipment, the only thing I have left to do is get her share of sentience to SSS, which I'm currently trying to commit. I'm saying trying, but I feel very positive about being, let's say, at peace with committing to saving crystals. Because now we're at the beginning of a new month. This is the 28th. I've got to clear some private details here. 1 second. And I'm back. Today is the 28th of September. It will be October 1st, this Friday. So this is essentially week 1 of the first of the next month. And I will have all the crystals, mostly all the crystals that starting from this Monday, which was the beginning of the new week. This 425 is a total of all the crystals I get a gain starting from Monday, minus 15 crystals. So I'm at a beginning of a new week. I'm starting fresh, saving crystals from a new week going into the first month of the next month. I mean, going into the first week of the next month. And I've managed to I managed to at least discover a path to building a Generation 3 Stigmata set that I can complete within the next, like, say, three or 4 months. I think I said 2 months, but in the next 2 to 3 months, I could complete the Generation 3 Ice Stigmata damage set, and everyone will be in equipment. And once everyone's in equipment, with very minimal excess, the only excess I will have will be this freaking Ranger's Gauntlet. Other than that, every piece of equipment that I have in my inventory will actually be in use on a Valkyrie. And once that happens, I guess I just got to get HI3rd sentenced to Triple S. And then once I do that, I'll be finished with my Revision 1 goals. My Revision 1 goals is basically, me coming back to the game back in February of 2020. That's where my Revision 1 goals, or no, was it 2020 or 2021, 2021. February of 2021, yep, I came back to the game. So that's a representation. Revision 1 is a representation of my goals after coming back to the game and, seeing what's new and what's available. So after I get HI3rd sentenced to Triple S, then it'll start Revision 2 if anything should come about. All right. You served me very well, Schrodinger Band. You served me very well. You were an excellent Stigmata set. And if I wasn't, let's say, a non-whale, or if I wasn't a person who has to be very frugal, I would find a way to keep you and just spend to get what I need. But unfortunately, I am not a whale, and I have to be frugal. I do not want, nor can I afford to spend good gobs of money on a video game. I have to keep it within reason. I have to keep it within a frugal reasoning. But you are a very good Stigmata set, and I recommend this to be included in anyone's arsenal. It is so versatile that you just can't ignore it. But I have to make a sacrifice if I wanted to conserve my time, as well as my monetary or real-world financial resources, because those are more important than the Stigmata piece. As such, I have to salvage. And there it is. I'll come back and salvage this in 9 hours. that's pretty much it.